At the intersection of true crime and real estate, you'll find Crime Estate. I'm Heather.
And my name is Elena. As real estate agents and true crime junkies, we view crimes through a different lens.
So walk through the door of some of the most notorious true crimes with us and discover how sometimes the scene of the crime has its own story to tell. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Crime Estate.
This is an episode everyone's been asking about for a while.
Like since the podcast began.
Yeah, it's weird we've never covered this one. Like some stories are so iconic that you want to do it justice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this true crime story, I would say, is like woven into our collective consciousness. One in which we're like sort of all familiar with the names that became part of the biggest murder trial, maybe in our country's history, at least to date. There might be some more famous ones now. But of course, it's Crime Estate. So we're covering this story not just from, you know, what you may have heard about it, but from real estate perspective as well. Yeah. Because there was a lot of good real estate at the center of this crime.
Well, we love California real estate, just talking about it.
I think this is going to be fun.
Yeah, if you're trying to guess, today we are covering the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman in Simpson's condo on the night of June 12th, 1994. Of course, I'm Heather, joined as always with my dear friend and fellow Dallas realtor, Elena. Hey, Elena.
Hey.
And our producer and commentator, Melanie. Hey.
I'm excited about this one. This one is like one of those stories that I was saying earlier, like I know, but I don't know how, like everything like I know. Like it's sort of just like it's become such a pop culture reference.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited too because I feel like our demographic, from what I can tell, who listens to us, are women our age and then much younger. So I'm sure like the much younger crowd has no idea about the story at all.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So we should ask our kids if they know this story.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
No, when I was researching it, I learned a lot. And then there was a lot that I thought was true that is not actually true. Because I think that's just the way the media happens sometimes. Like you run with this narrative that's not the case at all. It shouldn't come as a surprise to y'all that this will be a two-parter. There's just so much to cover it. We can't do it justice in one episode. And before we dive into like the heart of the story, I sort of want to introduce the key players and give you some background on them because I mean, I think like to Mel's point, we think we know, but do we really, you know? So, of course, we're going to start with O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson. Now, O.J. rose to fame in the late 1960s as the star football player for the University of Southern California. In 1968, O.J. Simpson, who was at that time a senior at the time, won the coveted Heisman Trophy. Now, we're boy moms, but you know, we know what the Heisman is. In case you guys aren't football fans, the Heisman Trophy is presented once a year to the most outstanding college football player in the entire United States. It's considered the most prestigious individual award in college football. And not only did O.J. Simpson win that award, but he went on to be one of the most award-winning football players in the United States at that time. Of course, this led to him being drafted to the Buffalo Bills in the very first pick of the first round of the NFL draft in 1969. That's always a big deal. That's like huge. Who's going to go in the first round first pick?
That's huge.
Yeah, huge deal.
Okay.
Can I say something really fast? Girl moms know football too. I don't have a girl. You said we're boy moms. My boys know nothing about football.
Well, that's true. My son could care less about football. Maybe. Okay. I didn't mean to be gender inappropriate or stereotypical.
I know you didn't at all.
I appreciate you calling out my insensitivity. Okay. That's great.
Okay.
Good job. All right. So get this. So O.J. Simpson signs with the Buffalo Bills, but he wanted a contract that provided him with a $650,000 a year salary each year for 5 years, which at this point sounds like, oh, of course the football player wanted that. He also wanted a $500,000 loan for investment purposes to be paid back over that 5-year period. And the Bills balked at this because at this point in history, it was the largest request for a salary in football player history. Let that sink in.
I mean, more power to him at this time. I mean, putting everything I know about him aside, I'm like, yeah, you know.
Well, and I think this next statement gives you a real insight into his personality because he told them, he was like, I'm fine being an actor. I don't need to play football. And so they eventually came to terms as he was about to walk away from the first round draft pick, they settled on a contract offering him a 4-year deal for $250,000 a year, and they gave him that $100,000 loan.
Okay.
I mean, and that's interesting because I told my husband this morning, I was like, I didn't realize that he played in Buffalo because to me, he's an LA icon. And, and because of USC, and obviously we know later on he goes back to LA. I just did not think of him as an upstate New Yorker.
Yeah. And to your point, so at this point in our story, OJ and his wife of 2 years, Marguerite Whitley, along with their 2-year-old daughter, Arnell, and their baby son, Jason, they move from California to New York, Mel. Now, OJ and Marguerite met in high school. She was initially dating OJ's good friend, Al, or AC Cowlings, but the two were having these relationship problems. And so AC goes to OJ, and he's like, hey, will you go talk to Marguerite? Help her see that I'm just ad-libbing. I have no idea what this conversation was. But he's like, tell her she's being ridiculous. She should get back together with me or whatever. And I don't know what happened in that conversation, but it led to Marguerite and AC breaking up and Marguerite and OJ getting together.
That's wild.
I mean, can you imagine?
No.
In our mom circle of friends, if our boys went to one another and then the girlfriend switched? No. That's got to be against the bro code.
Definitely.
I mean, we already have talked about it. It's weird, when the friends are dating, friends of dating, because it gets messy when anybody has a breakup or fight.
Well, and you might circle back to this, but AC stays in his life. They remain lifelong friends.
Yeah. Put a pin in that. They sure do.
Yes.
They got over whatever issue that caused
Which
because they did
wild.
stay lifelong friends.
Right.
Now, to be fair, Marguerite is 16 at the time. We're not talking about mid-20s. They're young.
But to be fair, she's 16, so that we could take this both ways. What the heck? He's getting married to a 16-year-old?
Well, no, this was when they first got together.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he didn't marry a 16-year-old. Although I don't think she was much older, maybe 18 or 19 when they got married. Anyway, while OJ played for the Buffalo Bills, the family was living this lavish lifestyle in Amherst, New York.
And I spent about 30 minutes, so not that long, but I spent a while trying to find this house, and there was nothing I could find about this house. He was living in here in the early 70s. There was nothing, but he apparently was a man about town. That's the one thing I did find about him. When he lived in Amherst, right outside of Buffalo, let's just put it this way. He was not the typical married with 2 young children. He was going to the bars every night. Nobody knew, that he had a spouse and kids.
Yeah. In a later interview I read with Marguerite, which I don't think I reference anywhere in the episode, she was like, we were these young kids. We had all this money. Nobody told us what to do with it. They did not grow up with a lot of money. OJ actually was sort of involved in some gang stuff in his early youth and spent a little bit of time in juvenile detention. So they didn't grow up with things. And then here they are making more than anybody's ever made in the NFL before.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mel, to your point, as Simpson's fame grew, so did his ego. And it was no secret that OJ was being unfaithful to Marguerite. And in the mid-1970s, she instructed her attorneys to get the paperwork ready to file for divorce. But she just couldn't go through with it. The two went on to have one more child together, a daughter named Erin, who was born in 1977 and unfortunately tragically drowned in the family's pool when she was just a toddler. Now, by this point in their marriage and in OJ's career, the family had moved back to California, where OJ was playing football for the San Francisco 49ers. Eventually, the two divorced in March of 1979 after an 11-year marriage. And according to my research, Marguerite received a settlement that provided her an income of $26,000 a year and $1,500 a month in child support payments. At the time of their divorce, however, OJ was the highest paid player in the NFL, making over $800,000 a year.
Is that good? I don't know. For that time?
Well, it was the highest in the NFL.
What she was getting.
No.
That's not good. Okay.
Well, I'm sure it was great compared to, but not as a percentage of his salary.
Right. If he's making $800 and he's giving her $26.
Yeah. Big difference.
I didn't like it.
Right.
And I have another divorce settlement information later.
Okay.
Or more, the second divorce settlement information comes out later, and the disparity is shocking.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is why I bring this up here. All right, so at this point in our timeline, when they're getting a divorce, OJ has already met his next wife, Nicole Brown, and the two had been dating for 2 years. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Nicole Brown Simpson. Nicole was born in 1959 in West Germany. So fun, so weird to hear West Germany, right? Mm-hmm. To a German mother and American father who had served as a pilot in World War II. Nicole was the second of 4 daughters for the couple, who also had Denise, Dominique, and Tanya. And Nicole also had 2 half-sisters and a half-brother from her father's previous marriage. The family moved to California when Nicole was a toddler, and by all accounts, she thrived in California. She loved the beach. She was voted homecoming princess in high school. And at the age of 18, Nicole was working at the Daisy on Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills' first private, members-only discotheque.
I've always loved the word discotheque.
It's a good one, right? All right, so it's a real estate podcast. So we have to tell you a little bit about this fabulous property on Rodeo Drive, which does not factor into the crime at all, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about it for a minute. Of course, Rodeo Drive is like the premier address in Beverly Hills. The photo we're showing now is a scene from American Gigolo, which was filmed on location at the Daisy. Have your boys seen that, Mel? You know your boys are film buffs.
I would say there's a very good chance that Justin has seen it. Like we're at the point now in his film education that some movies, we tell him that he can watch. I mean, we don't. He's 17. He can watch what he wants to watch. But we're like, but we don't really want to watch it with you.
There's some uncomfortableness there watching it together. Yeah. John and I are watching The Sopranos as our evening show right now.
Oh, fun.
And sort of the same thing. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with my kid watching The Sopranos, but I can't watch it with him. There are too many strip club scenes.
Oh, I forgot. Like I was like, what would? Oh, then
yeah. Like a lot of just their business talking exchange takes club with strip club in the background.
Yeah. So my younger son, 15 with your boys, he binged watched White Lotus this year and watched all 3 seasons, and he did this. We didn't really know he was doing it. And he's innocent, but very mature in other ways. And we were like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's have some conversations. But my husband was like, I don't want to watch it with him. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to watch it either.
Yeah, that last season of White Lotus was
I watched the very last episode of the last season with him, but
there's like the brothers scene that's so bad, and no.
Yeah. So it's fun getting to the point that your kids watch things that you want to watch, but then there's things that like are more cringy that it's hard to.
I watched a movie with my parents. I was up there this weekend, and it was an old movie based on a John Grisham book, and it had Michael Douglas was the star. And somebody was like suing him for sexual harassment.
Okay.
Is that Disclosure, maybe?
I don't think I've seen that.
And there's one like really serious sex scene.
Oh.
And I'm sitting next to my dad on the couch. And I was like, I'm just going to scroll through Instagram. You guys tell me when I can look up
It does not matter how old you get. There are sometimes it's just cringy to watch with your parents.
All right, well, let's go back to Rodeo Drive. I stumbled upon this fantastic blog and Instagram page. It's Allison Martino's Vintage Los Angeles. While I was researching the story, and of course, we'll link to her blog and socials in the show notes and online. But Allison wrote, "The Daisy, where Nicole is working, bloomed in 1962. It was Beverly Hills'
bloomed.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just had to call out. Go, Allison. That's a nice turn
it's
of
good.
phrase.
I like it. It was Beverly Hills' first members-only private discotheque located on posh Rodeo Drive. The Hollywood elite who patronized it had to shell out an initiation fee of $250, and membership was limited to only $400. It was a place where actresses in skin-tight pants would dance the Watusi?
Watusi.
Watusi? Is that a dance? Yeah. Okay. Jerking elbows and hips with Steve McQueen or Robert Redford. Jack Hansen bought the property on Rodeo Drive when the original Romanoffs had once stood. Night spots like the Mocambo, Ciro's, and the Trocadero, I'm probably butchering all those names, were slipping away, and discotheques and go-go clubs were moving in. The timing of the Daisy's infancy was perfect. A new culture of music was just about to arrive from London. Mod fashions were featured in all the hip boutiques, and a new young Hollywood crowd was taking over the scene in Los Angeles during the early 60s. The chic destination was also where Aaron Spelling met 18-year-old Carol Jean, also known as Candy, and their first dance together was to My Funny Valentine, and that song has been their song ever since. The menu at the Daisy featured its regulars' favorites on any given day. You would have your choice of the Robert Redford, avocado, mushrooms, sprouts, and melted cheese for $5.95. A Jack Lemon, fresh fruit, and cottage cheese. You're saying no. Mm-mm. Okay, you tell me when we get to one that sounds good for you.
Okay.
A Natalie Wood, fresh salad with chicken and cheese.
I'd eat that.
Okay. A Katharine Hepburn, meat patty and fresh fruit, and a number of other tasty dishes named after various celebrities.
I'd have the Natalie Wood and the
Natalie Wood?
Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah,
sure.
You'd probably ask for a cheese stick to go with it.
Oh, yeah. Love cheese sticks.
The stars that appeared on the menu were also Daisy regulars, who sat all afternoon in the sun-drenched patio that was so crowded with tables, you literally had to crawl over other diners to find your place in the sun. On any typical afternoon, you might find yourself munching salad and sipping wine with the likes of Suzanne Bichette, Jack Nicholson, Barbara Streisand, Michelle and Phillips, Warren Beatty, James Caan, or O.J. Simpson, which owner Jack Hansen claimed got more attention than any other movie star. Allison states, I can't help but notice how eerie O.J. Simpson's dish is.
So looking at the menu, you could order an O.J. Simpson and get scrambled eggs and sliced orange for $7.50.
Right? Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah.
Now, that's just a small portion of her write-up on the Daisy, which is so good. You all have to go check it out. We've linked to it in the show notes. So thanks for all the fun facts, Allison. We really appreciate it. I know I took a little bit of a detour there. Sometimes I do that. But I think it's important to set the scene for like the place that O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown met. And from several reports I've read, they actually met on Nicole's very first shift as a waitress at the club.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now remember, she is 18 and fresh out of high school. At this point, O.J. Simpson is 30 and a professional football player / actor celebrity. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine she was starstruck, though by all reports, she had never heard of O.J. Simpson. Mm.
I mean, she might have been a Hollywood 18-year-old girl, not, fresh on the sports scene. I could see it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Totally.
I mean, at 18, I wouldn't have known any like professional football players if I'd run into them.
Like, there was not social media, so she couldn't like look them up or
Right.
She wasn't getting like inundated with feeds about him.
She must have just seen like a rich guy that was getting a lot of attention from other people in the disco.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here we are at the beginning of Nicole Brown's relationship with O.J. Simpson. And let's remember, this does overlap with his marriage to Marguerite by a few years.
And these are two very different women.
Yeah, very different women. When the two first met, Nicole was juggling a few different roles. She was modeling, working on her photography, and attending community college. But everything changed not long after she met Simpson. She left school, moved in with him pretty quickly, and her personal goals started to take a backseat. According to Marguerite, Nicole started driving by their home and calling the house, pretending to be Simpson's secretary.
Yikes.
Her sister Denise Brown later shared that Nicole fell hard for Simpson early on, but the relationship did have some red flags from the start. Just 8 months in, Denise witnessed a moment that stuck with her. O.J. Simpson flew into a rage after seeing a male friend kiss Nicole on the cheek. Would that enrage your all's husbands?
No.
Not in the slightest. My husband...
Mine could care less.
I mean, my husband... Yeah. I was recently on a bachelorette party.
And you're going to tell us about that after the episode.
Oh, yes. And we some of the girls were talking about, like, their fiancé or husbands, being jealous. And I'm like... I could not relate. I just could not relate. Maybe like, when we first started dating and we weren't secure in our relationship. But no, my husband might laugh or like, he knows I'm friendly with people. I love it when he's friendly with my friends. Like
Right.
yeah, it's not an aspect
Nothing
of
would
my
make me
relationship.
happier than for John to like hug you all when you walk in and give you a little like kiss on the cheek.
Aw.
Like,
Yeah, because he feels
Yeah.
like comfortable with
Yeah.
us, and I don't know. I'm of the I want the people I love to love each other.
Yeah.
you know? Like,
yeah. I agree.
so at Mel's suggestion, I started watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives when my college girlfriend was in town last week.
It's a good show to watch with some a friend.
It needs a girlfriend and a lot of alcohol.
to talk with.
Yeah. But there's a scene in there where they go to Chippendales in Las Vegas.
Oh yes.
And her husband tells her that like he can't even be married to somebody that would make that kind of decision. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Messed up.
All right. So we all agree our husbands would not have responded the same way as
No.
O.J. Simpson
I've
did.
been like, oh, huh, okay.
All right. So now y'all have a little bit of background into the key people in today's episode. I want to jump to like a little bit of a timeline before introducing the other people that we probably have all heard of associated with the case.
Okay.
Nicole and OJ met in 1977, like I said, and by 1979, the same year that OJ and Marguerite's youngest daughter drowned in the family swimming pool, Marguerite and OJ divorce. Now, by 1980, OJ Simpson retires from the NFL. Like many professional football players, his body was giving out on him and his knees just couldn't handle the game anymore.
So you didn't play that long, right?
Like a decade.
Oh, was it that long? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it was a long time.
But he was mostly in Buffalo and a little bit in San Francisco. I didn't realize that he wasn't like the Super Bowl winning football player that I had him built up in my head.
Yeah. So in 1984, Simpson was given the honor of carrying the Olympic flame along the Pacific Coast Highway with Nicole Brown running behind him. It's the same highway we covered in the Malibu story, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The Pacific Coast Highway. We
We
really
do like
need-
California crime.
We really need to go out to LA because I feel like we could be doing selfies everywhere.
Less than a year later, on February 2nd, 1985, Nicole and OJ marry. In an Instagram post from 2022, Nicole's youngest sister said of their wedding day, looking back on her wedding video, Nicole was elated beyond belief.
That's lovely.
And indeed, it must have felt like a fairy tale to her. The two settled into OJ's Brentwood mansion, located at 360 North Rockingham. Mel, you're our California expert. Have you ever been to Brentwood?
Yes.
Of course you have. Of course you have.
No, like Brentwood, I don't have all my facts straight, but it's very close to Santa Monica. It's pretty close to Culver City where my sister lives. Yeah, it is definitely a rich area, but very centrally located. Like in other stories we've talked about, like Calabasas where the Kardashians live, more of those are in the valley. We've talked about the Hollywood Hills. Now this is really centrally located, closer to the ocean.
Well, and from everything I read, like celebrities and a lot of athletes really love it because it is like an easy commute to LA, but it feels very secluded and private, without all the hustle and bustle of town. Several high-profile celebrities live there, including LeBron James and one of my all-time favorites, Reese Witherspoon. And other notable figures who have homes in Brentwood include Arnold Schwarzenegger and formerly Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen. Okay, so just for fun, I checked the most recent average sales price of a home in Dallas. Which, any guesses?
475.
You're close. It's roughly like $415,000.
Okay.
Which makes me feel like I really bought it a good time.
And I pulled up what you can buy in Brentwood at the same price right now.
Okay. What is it?
Nothing.
I was like, wow. Because
For $489,000, you can purchase a one-bedroom, one-bath, 425 square foot condo built in 1973.
What?
Does that make you feel better at living in Dallas?
I've stayed at many, like Courtyard Marriott, and my rooms were bigger than 425 square
It's
feet.
crazy, right?
I mean, it's a nice area, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of nice areas in LA that you could, I'm not saying you can get anything cheap, but you can get something a little better than that.
O.J. Simpson purchased the house on Rockingham in 1977 for $650,000. Now, we're showing a picture of the property now, and there's something about it that sort of reminds me of the JonBenet Ramsey house. They're both Tudors. O.J. Simpson's property is 6,500 square feet. It's made of stone, and it features windows made to resemble leaded glass with that traditional diamond pattern in the glass panes.
Fairy tale?
Yeah, very fairy tale. Yeah, okay. That's exactly what it feels like. According to Lori Johnston of the Criminal Misconduct social media page, which I don't know how we have never found. It's so good. Really? You'll have to start following that.
Oh, criminal media.
No, misconduct.
Criminal misconduct. Oh, I like that,
yeah.
Lori. We're going to have to follow you.
Yeah, the home was previously occupied by renters Carly Simon and James Taylor.
Ooh. I love a good, when stories
I know. That's why I pulled it in for you.
I always love that.
She goes on to describe the property, saying, the half-timbered house, built in 1941, was designed to resemble an English cottage and boasted 7 bedrooms, a master suite with a stone fireplace, a living room that spanned the entirety of the 6,000-square-foot residence, a wine cellar, pitched wood beamed ceilings, leaded windows, a gourmet kitchen, a lagoon-style Olympic-sized pool with waterfalls and a slide, a tennis court, a gazebo, and a guest house. And the entire corner property was suffused with lush foliage and greenery, providing extra privacy in addition to the gates. Gorgeous. Yeah. And it was in this home that Simpson's 2-year-old daughter, Erin, drowned in the family swimming pool, like we said, in 1979. And that Simpson married his second wife, Nicole Brown, in 1985.
That's so tragic. I don't know if I could continue living there.
I don't either.
No. I mean, you were just describing this beautiful
You are never going to use that swimming pool. How do you ever use that swimming pool again? No. You can't.
And considering that he married Nicole in 85, at this point in time, I would have sold the home, gone somewhere new, fresh memories. I mean, the house sounds gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but come on.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mel. The couple did not consult us, though, obviously, and they continued to live in the house on Rockingham. Now, later that same year, on October 17th, 1985, the two welcomed their first child, a daughter named Sydney. 3 years later, in 1988, Nicole and OJ had a second child, a son named Justin, who was born on August the 6th. In 2019, her youngest sister Tanya told People magazine Nicole was a mom. First and foremost, her kids were her life. She always wanted to make sure they were having fun and being kids. Much unlike our last story.
Right. Yeah.
Only 5 months later, on January 1st, 1989, O.J. Simpson was arrested at the couple's home. According to a report in the New York Times, Nicole, quote, ran out of the bushes yelling, "He's going to kill me, he's going to kill me." She had injuries, including a cut lip, swelling, a black eye, and a hand imprint on her neck that required treatment at a hospital. Y'all, this was the 8th time the police had been called to the residence. But the New Year's Day incident marked the first time that Simpson had been arrested and charged with spousal abuse. 4 months later, he pleaded no contest and was sentenced to 120 hours of community service, 2 years of probation, and a $200 fine.
8 times. Yikes.
And nothing documented with him being abusive to Marguerite.
That's correct. As a matter of fact, people asked her about that afterwards. I don't want to quote her because I'll get it wrong, but she said something to the effect of, he knew better, I would have hit him upside the head with a frying pan.
I like her. Okay.
Yeah.
She was not, Marguerite was not a public person. She did not relish being in the limelight. She did not relish, being married to a celebrity person, but she had a bit of a fun personality.
In a fairly recent interview with Today, Nicole's sister Denise recalled documenting her injuries of abuse in 1989. She said that Nicole called her to the house and said, "Denise, will you take pictures of me?" And when she got there, she was just like, whoa. Again, we're 1989. You're not taking pictures with your camera selfies, right?
Yeah.
You have to call somebody over to hold the camera and crazy. So the couple, much like in OJ's first marriage, separated, got back together several times. It was on again, off again relationship. But in 1992, the two officially filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. In sharp contrast to OJ's first divorce settlement that we discussed earlier, 13 years prior, Nicole received a lump sum payment of $433,750 tax-free and $10,000 a month in child support.
Dang.
She also retained the deed to a rental property in San Francisco. The settlement was finalized in October of 1992.
Sorry.
You have a question. I can see it on your face.
The tax-free part is throwing.
I don't know. That's just...
It may have been like whatever.
Maybe that was it after taxes. Like,
Yeah,
she got like a $700 settlement, but really it was $433.50
Okay, that makes sense.
after
That's what I'm
taxes or
guessing.
That makes
something.
sense.
Now, despite their divorce, OJ and Nicole continued this like on again, off again relationship. They just could not quit each other. And in October of 1993, a full year after their divorce was finalized, Nicole called 911 twice in the same evening. She told dispatchers that her ex-husband had broken into her house and was, quote, ranting and raving and crazy, according to the Washington Post. When asked what he looked like by the 911 operator, she's like, it's OJ Simpson. Like, I think you know his record.
Wow.
Now, 8 months later, on June 12th, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson was fatally stabbed alongside Ron Goldman outside her Brentwood, Los Angeles home. She, at the time, was 35 years old and left behind two small children, Sydney, who was 8, and Justin, who was 5. At the time of her murder, Nicole Brown Simpson was living at 875 South Bundy Drive, and O.J. Simpson was living 2 miles away at the property we previously discussed at 360 North Rockingham. In the trial that follows, you'll often hear these two properties referred to as Bundy and Rockingham. Now, we've already described O.J.'s property. Let me tell you a little bit about the townhouse where Nicole was living. A previous listing description of the property reads, stylish and elegant townhome in prime Brentwood. In nearly 3,700 square feet of living space, this unit exudes charm and elegance. Public rooms are gracious with high ceilings, open spaces, and great flow. Lower level has 4th bedroom with ensuite bathroom. Upper level has master suite plus 2 bedrooms. Garage is direct, secure, private entry. The property features outdoor patios in front and back, as well as rooftop view deck.
I mean, when you say townhome, I generally think smaller, but this is 3,700 square feet. So this is a big house that is just also a townhome.
Yeah, and so it's attached to like probably a very mirrored unit on the other side. And I don't know how many of them are in a row. From most of the pictures, you can see 2 of them because you can see the garages. But yeah, I mean, it's a very large, very nice property.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when we first said townhome, I had in my head more of a small apartment. No, this is...
Well, and it was sort of unclear to me if this is the same property she got the deed to in the divorce or not, because that said San Francisco and this is still in Brentwood.
Yeah,
and I don't know how the two are close, but like I read another article that said he wanted to like give her the deed to something so he could set her up to be, comfortable. So I'm just not sure if those are the same properties or different properties.
And remember, he played for the San Francisco 49ers, so maybe it was like a former house that they had, that he rented
Perhaps,
out,
yeah. I couldn't get any clear information on that because when you research the story, there's so much of the big information that like some of that little stuff is just hard to find. I would describe the townhome as a Mediterranean style. Like the exterior was a light yellow stucco with a red tile roof. It had this tile walkway that led from the sidewalk to a small like gated pedestrian entrance. So when I say gated, I don't want you to think like big car gate. It was like just, we see these in condos around here a lot where there's like a pedestrian gate.
Yeah.
And then you went through that and it led like a few stairs up to the entryway of the property. Okay. All right. So now you guys have background on the 2 main characters and on the 2 main properties at the center of the crime. Assuming that you've not been living under a rock since 1994, you'll know that O.J. Simpson was arrested and tried for Nicole's murder.
Surprise!
Surprise, right?
Oh my God, spoiler alert.
But let's go back to like, as things are occurring, like immediately it's not clear to investigators what had happened. And the way like the timeline of that night transpired and how the police came to suspect OJ of murdering Nicole, has gone on to be like the premise of countless books, TV shows, podcasts like ours, like so much information on this. But what I want to do is walk y'all through like the critical timeline on the night of June 12th, 1994. And most of this is pieced together from like court TV accounts, right? So that's how I came up with this timeline. Court TV provided it, essentially. All right, so 6:30 p.m. Nicole Brown Simpson heads out to dinner at this restaurant called Mezzaluna. It's a popular spot in Brentwood, someplace she had been going pretty regularly. I mean, we do this, right? Like, you find your new favorite local restaurant. That's where you hang all the time. She's joined by her kids and some friends and family. They had just come from Sydney's dance recital. And so Sydney does this dance. They're going to go out to eat and celebrate. Like, I mean, very normal.
Very normal, like from any of our lives.
Yeah. Now, while there, Nicole's mother accidentally drops her glasses, which she's not going to discover for a few hours. At 8 o'clock, Nicole and her kids leave the restaurant at Mezzaluna, and on their way home, they stop to grab some ice cream. Again, just like another ordinary family night.
Well, OJ was there.
No, OJ was not there.
Not there. Okay.
He did not join them for dinner.
So OJ was at the recital, not at the family dinner.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And there was something I read that apparently OJ's son from the previous marriage worked at a restaurant in Brentwood, and there was talk of going there. But then she was like, I really don't want OJ to join us, and it's a little bit of a nicer restaurant. The kids aren't going to be as comfortable. That has nothing to do with the story other than it's some background information I read. So they leave at 8. They go get ice cream. At 9:15, one of Nicole's sisters calls Mezzaluna and asks about the missing glasses. And they're like, yeah, they're here. We'll put them in an envelope for you. You can just pick them up whenever. Well, Ron Goldman is working at the restaurant at the time. And he had sort of gotten to know the family while working there. You know, again, just neighborhood regulars coming in.
Yeah, neighborhood regulars. Also, the fact high profile, and Nicole was beautiful.
Yeah. And so
memorable.
Yeah. And so Rod's like, hey, I'm about to get off work. I'm going to go meet some friends here in a little bit. Let me just grab the glasses on my way to meet my friends. I'll drop them off at her house. Great. Now, meanwhile, across town at OJ's house, sometime between 9 and 9:30, OJ's at his Rockingham estate with Brian Cato Kalin, who's a house guest that's staying in like their guest quarters at the time. They actually have, and we'll show it here in a minute, the way the estate is set up, it sort of has like 2 guest suites. And so Cato's staying in one, and then OJ's oldest daughter, Arnell, is staying in the other one. But OJ's about to head out on a trip that evening. I think I read somewhere, or maybe I'm just making this up as to why he would do it. He needed small bills. And so he pops in to see Cato, and he's like, hey, can you break 100 for me? Or something like that. And while they're there, OJ says like, hey, I'm hungry. I'm going to run to McDonald's. And Cato's like, yeah, I'm hungry too. So the two get in the car and they go to McDonald's. And there's a lot of talk back and forth about, did OJ do this to establish a timeline? Did he not do it to establish a timeline? But what we know is that at 9:45 that night, Cato and OJ return from their fast food run. Now, just minutes later, we're talking like 9:48 to 9:50, Ron Goldman leaves Mezzaluna. And he's carrying that white envelope with the eyeglasses inside. He's going to run home and change clothes real quick and then go to Nicole's house.
Because he's going out.
He's going out to like meet some friends. Yeah. Like young kids do, right? Yep. I'm like 9:15, I will be in bed.
But back in the day.
Back in the day. All right. So at 10:15 p.m., so what are we, 30 minutes past when OJ and Cato get back from their fast food run? A neighbor of Nicole's, Pablo Fenez, is watching TV when he hears what he describes as crying and nonstop barking from a dog. And I think that's a really important detail that comes up later. Now, I'm back and forth on the 2 different properties, right? Remember, we've got Rockingham and Bundy. Rockingham is OJ's, Bundy is Nicole Simpson's. So back at OJ's place in Rockingham, a limo driver named Alan Park arrives at 10:25. So this is 10 minutes after hearing the dog barking to pick Simpson up for a flight to Chicago. OJ's headed to Chicago as part of his endorsement deal with Hertz. He's playing in a golf tournament at the Hertz convention. So,
and I vividly recall there's like some commercial where he was the Hertz spokesman, like running, was it through an airport or jumping over luggage?
Yeah.
My dad worked for IBM for the majority of his career, and he had the Hertz account. That's how we ended up in Oklahoma City.
Of course.
Yeah, we moved to Oklahoma City, where Hertz is located. There you go. We're just tying it all back in. All right. So OJ's going to play in this golf tournament. And so at 10:25, the driver's like ringing the bell at the gate. This is a gated driveway to get into his palatial estate. Driver's ringing the bell. Nobody's answering. At 10:40, also over at Rockingham, Cato Kalin hears 3 loud thuds outside his room, like loud enough to startle him. And he'd been living there for a while, so he sort of knew the comings and goings, right? Like if you're staying in my guest suite here at the house, you know my dogs bark all the time. That's not going to concern you. Mm-hmm. He later describes these sounds as banging sounds on the outside wall. Still at like 10:40 to 10:45, Cato heads outside to investigate, and he walks around the property, but he doesn't see anything, so he just goes back inside where he's staying. Also in like that 10:40 to 10:50 range, the limo driver, Alan Park, he's still at the gate, and he's annoyed, and he's like buzzing the intercom several times, but there's no answer. He tries again, nothing. He's getting super frustrated. But it's you don't just drive away from O.J. Simpson's house if you've been hired to pick him up. This is not the Uber driver I called, right? Like he's been hired to take O.J. to the airport. Now, around that same time, over at Bundy, a neighbor spots something strange. Nicole Brown Simpson's white Akita dog, all by itself, pacing around their yard, barking like crazy. But here's the kicker. The dog's paws are bloody. And not to confuse things later in the story, I should note that the dog's name is also Cato, named after the Cato who's living in OJ's guest house.
So obviously Nicole and her kids knew Cato was at OJ's too.
Yeah. So my
confusing.
It's very confusing, right? So my understanding is OJ and Nicole met Cato Kalin like through mutual friends when they were still together. Like they were on vacation in Aspen, and somebody had invited him to come along. You know, like
and he was just a fun guy. They both liked.
Yeah.
But then later he started dating one of Nicole's friends, so they got to know each other a little bit better. And he's like aspiring actor in LA. And Nicole's like, come stay in our guest house. Like we've got plenty of room.
I remember he like kind of was cool looking, like had fun hair or something.
Yeah.
Is what I'm picturing.
And it sounds like to me like he lived there before Nicole and the kids moved out. And some reports said like he helped with the kids. I think really what he did was like if Nicole was leaving, she'd be like, hey, I'm gone. Like kids are here. Make sure the house doesn't burn down. So like he had a relationship with the kids because they just lived in this mutual proximity.
Okay.
But I guess the kids like really loved Cato, and so that's what they named their dog. What do you do? So around 10:50, Cato the dog is barking like crazy, and the neighbors find him with these muddy paws. 5 minutes later, back at OJ's house, the limo driver calls his boss, and he's like, hey, Simpson isn't home. And the boss is like, just wait until 11:15. He's always late. Like, don't worry about it. Just stay. But something's about to happen to get Park's attention. Shortly before 11 p.m., he sees a figure, a black man around 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, walking across the driveway toward the house. He doesn't know it yet, but the timing's suspicious, especially considering the tension mounting around Simpson's whereabouts at that time. Then around 11, Cato Kalin finally heads out to investigate these noises again. He walks to the front of the house. He sees Park, the limo driver, standing at the gate. Park buzzes the intercom again, and finally, O.J. Simpson answers. He claims he's just woken up, saying he overslept and had just gotten out of the shower. And Cato's like sort of taken aback by this. He's like, we just got back from McDonald's. Surely you didn't lay down and go to sleep. But anyway, he watches Simpson walk out of the house to the waiting limo. Now, 11:01 p.m., this is the big moment. Park's been waiting since 10:25, but now at 11:01, Simpson finally emerges from the house. He drives them to the Los Angeles International Airport, and that's it. Like, he's not waiting on OJ anymore. And OJ catches an American Airlines flight to Chicago. Now, at 11:15, By this time, the limo has left for the airport. The whole thing's feeling like sort of routine, like any other celebrity departure. 11:35, they arrive at LAX. Simpson heads off to catch his flight. A witness later comes forward saying that they saw OJ at the airport while waiting to pick up his wife from her stewardess shift, and he was carrying a small black duffel bag in which he kept pulling small items out of and putting in various trash cans around the airport.
I didn't know that.
And while things seem calm, almost mundane at the airport, back in Brentwood, y'all, things are not calm at all. At 12:10 a.m., just as Simpson is like getting into the air, things take a really tragic turn. Nicole Brown Simpson's dog, same one we saw earlier with bloody paws, leads a neighbor to a devastating discovery. One podcast I listened to said, like, the dog came into their yard and they tried to walk it back somewhere, but like it was like pulling and tugging and didn't want to cross one street. And so then finally they're like, well, let's just see if like it wants to lead itself home. And so essentially that's what it did. The dog led itself home, and that's how they discovered Nicole and Ron's bodies. Now, the bodies of Nicole and Ronald are found outside her townhouse lying near the grate. I mean, it is a horrific crime scene. We're showing a diagram of the crime scene, which for some reason is labeled in French. I'm not sure why. I couldn't find an English one, but you can see where both Nicole and Ron were found. Laying along with them, there's the location of the envelope that contained her mom's glasses and also a mysterious bloody glove.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, that comes back.
That's one of the only things I really know of. There's a glove. Somehow or another, there's a glove involved.
Yeah, the glove is definitely at the center of the crime.
And this is weird because I always thought, I had heard of the name Ron Goldman. I thought he was like, I don't know, like maybe dating her.
I think a lot of people thought that, yeah. And I think that's sort of how a lot of media ran with it, but it sounds like that was not the case at all.
Wow. Okay.
Sad.
Like so many of our stories involve somebody wrong time, wrong place, you know.
Yeah, and he was just stopping by to like do a good deed.
Oh my God.
So the night of the murder, investigators discover that Nicole Brown Simpson was found barefooted just outside her condominium right by the front door. One podcast I listened to said that her bath water had been run and she had candles lit. To me, like, she's getting home from a fun family night out and she's preparing to relax. But I think, to your point, Mel, that's part of what led to that speculation in the media that Nicole and Ron were together and like they were found dead together and she had this bath water and the candles. Like, they sort of assumed a romantic relationship. But his parents say like he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They think he walked upon the scene of OJ either arguing with or harming Nicole and stepped in and was killed for that reason. And actually, it sounds like, even though he has denied it, many people believe that Nicole was actually dating OJ's one-time football rival, Marcus Allen, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs at the time. All right. Let's fast forward just a little bit in our timeline. We're at 4:15 a.m. now, right? So a couple hours. Simpson checks into a hotel in Chicago. He's just arrived from this long flight.
Like this red eye. You know,
right.
Yeah.
He's doing all his normal stuff. And then back at the mansion, the police are just showing up at OJ's Rockingham estate. They're there to, one, tell him that Nicole's dead, like to notify him. But also, they have Nicole's children in their custody, right? They were asleep inside that townhouse. And they're trying to find like next of kin to take custody of them. And when they arrive, they find something else, something that sort of changes everything. They discover Simpson's blood-stained white Bronco parked outside on the street. Even more chilling, they find a bloody glove that matches the one found near Ron Goldman's body. So at this point, it's not a crime scene. It's like a full-blown investigation, and one that I think goes on to like rock the whole world for a couple of months. So at 5 a.m., detectives Mark Furman, we've heard that name 1,000 times, and Philip Venator, I don't think I'd heard that name as much in the trial, arrive at O.J. Simpson's mansion. They're like eyeballing that blood stain on the Bronco. They're trying to get someone to answer them at the gate in front of the property. But of course, it's like still the middle of the night. And unbeknownst to them, OJ isn't home. Like they think he's there, right? His Bronco's there. Nicole's just died. There's blood. They just assume he's home and they're trying to get somebody to answer the door. So, but then it's like, well, was he injured too? I think is their thought process.
Fair enough. Okay.
Right? So about 5:40, Detective Furman decides to like jump the wall or the gate to get into Simpson's property. And a lot of is made of that later because they did enter without permission.
Mm-hmm. But like hindsight's 2020. Like you, at the same time, you could think, what if he's injured too?
Exactly.
And I'm going there to help
and
someone.
That's what they argued. Now, they end up waking up Arnell, who is staying, if you're looking at a picture, we have a picture of
him and Marguerite's daughter.
That's correct. If you're looking online, we have a picture of, or a diagram, I'd say, of the estate. Arnell's in the very far guest house, like past Cato's guest house, all the way at the other end of the property. But they wake her up. She's like very confused to be woken up at 5 a.m. by the police. And she agrees to like let them into her dad's house. And as they make their way inside the house, she calls Kathy Randa, who's OJ's longtime assistant. Now, like I said, we're showing a diagram of the estate. There are two gated entrances, one on Rockingham Avenue and the other around the corner on Ashford Street. That location has an intercom. That's the one the police have been trying to get OJ to answer. But both entrances have like these long drives that meet up and they form sort of this like U-shaped driveway in front of the entrance of the house. And from there, they go all the way, like from that entrance, like I said, all the way to the back of the estate to wake up Arnell. I'm not sure, like, how did they know she was there? I don't know. Are they just knocking on doors? I didn't really figure that out, but somehow they woke up Arnell and she let them into the house. So around 7 o'clock, Detective Vanatter, who now is like realizing the gravity of the situation, declares the area a crime scene. Again, sort of similar to John Bonet, like people are in the house.
No, I'm just thinking. Like,
I thought you were stopping me for some reason.
No. I'm moving my hands because they're all just like flipping, flopping all throughout the house, destroying any supposed evidence, maybe.
Mm-hmm. But at this point, they're like, oh, maybe we need a search warrant. And so they start getting that. They don't get their search warrant until 10:45 a.m. So they've already found the bloody Bronco. They've already found the bloody glove.
And was the Bronco on the street?
It was parked on the street.
Interesting. Yes. So it was not parked behind the gate.
No,
that's
parked on the
odd
street.
to me.
Mm-hmm. So they find more traces of blood, not just inside the house, but again in that Bronco. And at this point, it's really looking like worse and worse for OJ by the minute.
I have a question.
Okay.
So they were already full on the property. They were knocking on guest house doors. Like
I guess that's how they woke them up. I don't know.
They're full on the property.
They were on the property.
So now they're getting the search warrant. Does that mean that the focus shifted to he's not hurt, he's now a suspect? Is the search warrant an indication of that shift?
I would think so.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
I mean, I would think so. I guess they haven't completely checked the house to ensure 100% he's not there somewhere, maybe?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if they knew that he was in Chicago at this point.
I don't know that they did, unless Arnell told them, like, hey, my dad flew to Chicago, but I can let you in. Or maybe Arnell didn't know, but found out when she called the assistant.
Because I'm imagining Arnell is kind of like, a grown, either, college or, 20-something-year-old.
And if you look at the diagram of that estate, like the way it's set up, Arnell was living her own best life at the end of the estate. Like, they're very separate spaces.
Yeah, that would be the best of both worlds, where you're like, okay, I get to live in Brentwood in a rich house, but I also don't really live with my parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let's fast forward to noon. 10:45, they get the search warrant. At noon, back in Chicago, they finally locate OJ and they inform him of Nicole's death. And he's like, I'm on the first plane back. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, when he arrives back at his mansion, the police are waiting for him. And to answer your question, he must have been a suspect because they handcuff him and take him to the station for questioning. And what follows is a very long and grueling interrogation that really only goes on to raise more questions. Now, while OJ's on his way back to LA, The investigators are piecing together like all of these details of the crime scene. And I sort of think we have to stop there for today. Don't you think? Like,
That's a good place to stop, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're teasing.
well, I don't mean to be a tease. There's just so much information that if we jump into the next section, we're going to be like another 30 minutes before we even get to the trial.
Yeah, I think it's good to like process.
Right.
And, like, think
So
about.
we know who they are. We know about their properties. We know a little bit about Ron and Nicole's non-relationship. We know a little bit about Cato.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, these are the names that have become infamous. I mean, it doesn't help that Cato's kind of a cool, weird name, although I did not know about the dog.
Isn't that funny? Well, and the dog is an Akita, which I didn't know a lot about. So I did some research, and apparently they are like a fiercely protective and loyal breed.
I feel like sort of in the back echelon of my mind, I knew that. Well, I'm very excited to hear about more because I've already learned a lot of things that I didn't know about a story that is yet something that we talk about all the time. And yeah, very
Well, good.
cool.
That's our goal. Like, we want to cover things a little bit differently and a little bit more in depth and from a different angle. So we hope you enjoyed part 1 of O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson, and of course Ron Goldman. I feel like we can't leave him out. In the story.
This poor guy. Like, I feel like he's sort of a hidden like gem in the story. That what the hell is he?
Well, and to your point, like, we have covered so many stories. The Manson murders is the one that most immediately comes to mind. There's wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
To date, that's still our second favorite, like most listened to episode is the Manson murders.
It's fascinating. It's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
And a really cool house.
All right. So we're going to hold off on our live there or list it until next week because we haven't told y'all what happens to the properties after yet. But if you enjoyed the podcast, we hope you'll leave us a 5-star review, like, subscribe, do all the things people tell you to do. Most importantly, maybe like share this with your girlfriends. Like, the biggest compliment anybody's ever given us is like, we love listening to you guys because we feel like we're sitting in the living room just chatting with girlfriends, and that's what we want. So tell your girlfriends, and then y'all can talk about it together.
Yeah. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening and being a part of our Crime Estate family.
If you're curious about today's featured crime estate, you can find additional photos and details from today's episode online at crimeestate.com or on Facebook and Instagram by following at Crime Estate Podcast.
Have a crime estate we should cover? Let us know. Shoot us an email at crimeestatepodcast@gmail.com. Until next week.